All right, do you have any certain questions, Scott, or you just want a general overview of the property?
More of just a general overview, I think, right now. If you come across something that, because I don't deal in this section every day, I like to kind of review it every now and then.
All right, give me 1 second. We'll get started. All right, let's see. Share. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right. All right, so we're going over properties and pre-plans today. All right, so with our properties, you sit there and you have, just like all of our system, you have your filters.
Yep.
So you can sit there and narrow down your filters if you want to sit there and go by your survey number if you know it. If you want to sit there and go by like what the inspection level is, if you have for inspections. If you want to go by the address, if you want to sit there and go by like if it's a complex, what complex it is, you can narrow it down like that with your properties, with your
Right.
filters. Then you can also sit there and you can save your filters as well. Sorry.
Yep.
All right, so with your properties, you have a legend over here. It goes by your how the system is rate how you rated your property, either low, moderate, significant, or maximum. If it's black, it's going to have no rating. You can see this one, like this property right here, it's going to end up being part of a complex. And then you have the or parent of the complex, and if it looks like just a normal bit, like a kind of like a business commercial type, that's going to be your part of a complex. And if it looks like a kind of like a normal residential house, then it just means it's a generic building by itself. It's not part of a complex.
Yep.
As you can see on the property, if it requires a pre-plan or inspection, that's going to be here. But today we're just going to pretty much talk about more of the pre-plan section. So with pre-plans, it's all going to be permission based. If you have a list, you'll see the list of your pre-plans. If you have the right permissions, you can also do assignments. So since we're on this one, we won't be on this as long. So I'll go ahead and go over this. If you want to sit there instead of doing the using the back office to make assignments, you can do that from here. So if we want to sit there and filter out everything due date that is this year, and we hit search. So everything that is due this year should populate. If we want to sit there and pull this up by using a certain area, so like a certain station or whatnot like that, we can also
Yep.
sit there and we can pull that up. We can sit there and pull up, if we want, say, a certain station, we can pull up station 10 and hit search, and this would pull up if anything's assigned to station 10. So right now, nothing's assigned to station 10. So
Right.
what we could do is we could do a mass update if you wanted to. Usually that's going to be more for like if you want to change the due dates. If a new system, if somebody comes in new and they're wanting to say, hey, like the organization I currently work for, we want everything due on say June 30th. I could sit here and I could hit mass update, and I could sit there and that's going to update all 39 records that are in here. Um,
Okay.
and I could sit there and I could change this to say June 30th of 2026, hit submit, hit OK. And now it's not due this year, it's actually due next year. So we could sit there and change by date. We could change it to due in June 30th. Hit search. And there they are.
Yep.
If you want to sit there and you want to change just a few of them, you could sit there and you could do that by either by clicking here.
Okay.
And then when you do that, you can change either if you want to change all of these to a certain staff, you can hit this pencil and it'll let you change it all to the certain staff. Same way with the station. These will edit all if you have them highlighted, this will edit all of them that are highlighted. If you sit or hit the pencil up here. If you want to change each one of these separate, then you just click on that line item separate. and that'll sit there and bring it up. So if I want to these two, if I want to type in these two, say, Matthew Snow, that'll put them there. If I want to do these to different stations, station 11, I want this one to go to station 12, then I can do that. Or I can also do the assignment, and I can break it down into the apparatus. So like if you have a two company house and you want half of them to do, the engine to do half, you want the ladder to do the other half, you can sit there and select those here.
Okay.
Any questions on like how to filter doing that?
No, not really.
Okay. All right, we're going to go down just into our list. Excuse me. Do the quality inn and suites. Everybody has a general idea what a hotel looks like. All right, so it's going to pull up your pre-plan information, your who it's assigned to, what stations, if it's assigned to a station, like if it says station 10, it said A shift, it's going to pull it up. If it's assigned to a certain unit, it'll have to have a unit out here as well. For your, you'll see that there you have the moderate rating. There's the green for the moderate rating. If you hit your pre-plan logs, every time somebody has logged in to mess with this pre-plan, it's going to sit there and it's going to show it. If I change a contact, say if I change contact number from John Smith to Joe Smo, it's going to sit there and it's going to have the old value and it's going to have the new value of what I changed it to, and it'll keep a record of every change that is done inside of our system.
Okay.
Your tactical summary is going to be here. This is what you as an organization has deemed, hey, I want this to be pertinent information and I want this to be up front. So, instead of trying to go through, dig through here, bam, there's your tactical summary and here's all your information. And I'll show you where this pulls from once we get to it.
Okay.
So one thing you can do is I'll go through and verify that your property is actually correct. So if we pull up this pre-plan and we go, oh, that property is not the property that it's supposed to be, it should be this property. We go over here to these little tabs. We can move our property. It'll come up with crosshairs, and we hit the crosshairs onto the building. And as you can see, it changed it to that property. Just so we can sit there and put it back to where it was. We're just going to put it back on the.
So question for you right there.
Yes, sir.
The size of the buildings that you have, is there, I know like I can scroll in and scroll out, but can I predetermine what size I want it to be when it opens up that map?
Not that I know of. It should just zoom in on the general location of the area. Now, how that zooms in on those certain things, I don't think we can change that.
Okay.
If you want to see a street view, you'll sit there and you should pull up let's see if it pulls up a street view. This is not the current street view of this property. 3200 amp. All right, hold on. There's the property. So if I want to sit there and make sure I save this, I can sit there and save as attachment. And so now that property, when I go under here and I'll look at the property when I go up under here in a minute, it'll sit there and actually show that is my save. That was the image of my property.
Okay.
All right. So for your measurement, your NFF, your needed fire flow, that is going to be done. That is right here. And how you do that is we're going to go up under our add and we can go down to measure property. So what this does, yes, you're going to go, it's already been done. When we go from corner, dot, as we keep going, it's going to sit there and it's going to start figuring out length times width. And once you get all the way around the building, it's going to sit there and it's going to figure out that the needed fire flow for this is going to be 1,000 gallons a minute. And if you narrow it down to this is only going to be a one story ends up actually, once it ends up figuring out the right thing, one story ends up being 4,600 gallons a minute. And since if you change this to a 2-story building and hit calculate, it's going to narrow down. You're going to need 9,200 gallons a minute to sit there and put out this fire. If it is 100% involved, your total area is going to tell you is going to be roughly around 14,000 square feet. This will populate, this needed fire flow will populate in your property details automatically because it'll tell you the only way you can get the area is if you do your needed fire flow calculation. And that is done
Okay.
under your map. So going back to our map view, if we want to sit there and we want to add in, say, some markers, we get our add in a hydrant. So if we want to add in a hydrant, we sit there and click hydrant. Sit there and we can click it, and then it's going to want to add in what hydrant number that we're looking for. This already has some hydrants located in here. So what we can do is, as you see down here, if you see a hydrant, it's actually got it as primary, secondary, or primary 3. Whatever hydrant we want to click this is, it'll sit there and it'll show in a minute. There's a relevance to this. So if we're going to tell everybody, hey, for this property, this quality in, we want you to use this hydrant first, then you'll sit there and you'll hit primary and you'll hit save. And then you'll look, you see another hydrant right here. You hit this hydrant, look at it. We want this hydrant as a secondary. So where that comes into play at is under your property details at the bottom. It's going to sit there and show your hydrants. The primary ones are only 165 feet away from it, and your secondary is 536 feet away. Your third is 528 feet away. So this sits there and it'll show you when you find out where they are and you do that, it'll let you know how far the closest hydrant is, and it'll let you know the road that it's on.
Okay.
So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do from your map view. All right, so also from map view, we can sit there and we can add in markers. So I want to sit there and I know in this building, so I'm going to zoom in. I know just by general layout of these buildings that, this is going to probably be my office right here. Well, if I want to attach an AED to that, sit there and click on my AED, and then I'm going to point to where I want it. Now I'm going to add in the AED. I can make this small. I can make it larger. I can add in a picture of, hey, here's where the AED is. Say if it's located behind the corner. I can sit there and add in, wording to that, change it. I can change the color of my wording to, if I want to change it to orange. And I can also say, hey, this is on the first floor or second floor if the floors are built out in the back office. And I'll show you how to do that when we get there.
Okay.
And then I can sit there and just hit save. And then that'll save it and you see how that populates into a bigger one. If I want to delete it, I click on it and I delete it. And then there we go. And you got several different types. These are just some basic markers that we have in the system.
Yep.
If you're looking more towards some more, we got the DOT placards. So, we're going to say this building, if they have some gasoline stored, if they have, something like that, we can go under here and we can put the class for the NFPA 704 placard. We could put that on here as well. And just like, we talked about a while ago, hopefully you ain't got no explosives in there, but we can sit there and click it. It's going to put the explosive there. We can change it. And, we could put explosive, we could put dash, say if it was dynamite or something like that, what floor
Okay.
it is, and we could save it. If we don't want it, we just click going back on that icon, and then now we can delete it. When it comes to here's some more markers, NFPA 170. You sit there and you have a whole lot more. I mean, you have several more. It's just a little bit more in depth and a little bit bigger in how they're worded. You can put these on here. You can also get under the NAPSG ones. And these are a little bit more in depth. So we have an alarm, we have an annunciator panel, we have a burglar alarm, and then we have the fire alarm control panel. So if you have a little annunciator here, but the main alarm panel, so we put our little annunciator panel, it's going to be as soon as you walk in, but we also want to sit there and we want to put in, so we save it. Now we want to sit there and put in, hey, the main control panel is going to be in a maintenance office that's right, a maintenance hallway that's right here. Then we put that, hey, there's the big control panel. And we can sit there, like I said, we can change it, make it just a little bit bigger. We can put a picture of where it's at. So when we click on this picture shows up. We click on the picture and like, oh, that's where it's at. And we sit there and we can hit save. Like I said, if we don't want them, click on them, and we can delete it. And that goes through all of these. All these going to have like a little bit of a subcategory and where you put it at. When it comes to custom markers, if we have designed any custom markers in the back office, elevator, fire command, we can sit there and we can put these in. These are just some custom markers, that we've had, that we made. If you sit there and you want to put, hey, I want to put a ladder truck in a certain area, you can do a custom marker and you can put ladder truck in ladder truck placement. I want the ladder truck placed here. You can sit there and dictate, where you wanted ladder trucks placed. If you knew that, hey, our ladder is only for it to reach a certain area, it has to be at this location. We could put that ladder truck there if this is what we deemed as a, oh, just thinking, come on. So if we have a ladder truck here and we want the ladder truck to go there, then we can put that ladder truck there. And we sit there, we can put a picture of a toy truck, and we can put a picture of our actual ladder truck if that's what we want, and that's where we want it located at.
Okay.
And that's something, like I said, we can just build those in the back office. We talked about measuring a property. If you want a different type of property image, if you want, say this is, this just shows, Google Maps is not updated, and we sit there and say we had a drone and we flew above the property, and we wanted this updated. We could sit there and we could put a picture of that property above property, and we could put it here if we wanted to. If say Google Maps is not updated.
Okay.
And if we want a text box, so say this property is used, I know right now it's a hotel, but say that there's a pool in this area. We could sit there and we could click text box. We could change the wording of the text box to sit there and say, this is where the pool is located. And we want to change that to medium. And, since it's a pool, we want to change it to blue, save. Now we know there's a pool there, and we can click on it and we can move it where it's at. If we know that, say there's an indoor pool or something like that. Another way you can do something like that is if you want to do a polygon. So we go in, we do a polygon box. So we can say, say this store is chemical. We can click. I can just kind of like I would if I want to measure. Let's keep clicking until I seal up my box. Now that box is going to change colors. I can sit there and I can write, if this was an indoor pool and I wanted to change it to deep blue, if this was say like a large commercial warehouse and I had an office and then I had dry storage and then I had liquid chemicals, I could sit there and, and I could divide this building up in, as many spaces as I could, and I could change it. I hit. Now I know it's a pool, so if I look at it and say, hey, everywhere there's blue, there's going to be a pool on the side, that could be universal. Or if I click on this, then I go, oh, that's the pool. But what I can do is I can sit there and I can change the colors, and I can put pool there with the marker, and that lets you kind of know, hey, I done two different ways to label it, and it gave me this location is going to be a pool. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we pretty much went. Whoa. We pretty much went over our map view. So when it comes to our floors, if we sit there and we add in floors, let me go ahead and just do that and get in the back office real quick. All right, so for some of our categories, we'll go ahead and just kind of talk about it since we're right here. So like our property statuses, if we're, if it's in use, stuff like that, that's going to be located here. If you're doing any permit types, they're going to be located there. Your permit statuses, approved, denied, waiting approval, all that's there. Your emergency markers, these are going to be ones that you sit there and you just select that are in our system. If we want to do any kind of custom or property, see floor list. So this is where our first, second, third, fourth, all of our floor lists are going to be located at.
Yep.
Your settings for your custom markers. This is where we want to design our own custom markers. We can put if they're showing on the map view. We can put what module we want these to show in. If these are all modules, If we want them in pre-plans or just investigations, we can put it here. If we say, you know what, this is outdated, we don't want it no more, we can just hit not active and it won't show up. If we want to hide some markers, we can select those here. If we want to hide a whole group of those markers, say, you know what, we don't like the NSPG markers, we can sit there and hit that. And once we hit exit, log back out, then all of those markers are gone. The end user will not be able to see them.
Okay.
If we're going to merge a property, say like, you know, we had two different quality ends, as long as we know the property ID that we want to keep and we know the property ID we want to get rid of. Say this, you know, they both have data in them, but we don't want to sit there and lose any of that data. Say, you know, this was pre-planned by accident, or this was inspected, and we want to carry it to this one. The one that you put up top is the one that's going to stay. The property itself will be deleted, but all the data will be moved to this property. This is the original property, and it'll tell you this one stays, this one will be deleted.
Yep, I've done that.
Okay. Complexes, you can do those from the front if you know what parent complex is going to be, you select it, and then you can come down here and you can add in a new property, or you can add existing properties to that parent. I think it's easier, and I'll show you how to do it from the front. It's a whole lot easier to do.
Okay.
If you do a follow-up property and pull up your property and go up here and hit delete, it'll ask you twice. It'll ask you, hey, are you sure you want to delete this property? And then it will delete the property. Your property category. So this is where your tactical summary comes from. Anywhere that is red and white lines in our system, if you double click it, it will let you edit that. So these are all our different areas for our, you know, everything that we want. We want, you know, rope access. If you got, you know, water rescue, if you got all these specialty things, the ones that kind of come in right off the bat are like, it'll say like access, it'll say exposures, general. It'll come in for it's pretty much like a standard one that they come in. These are a lot of that's just kind of been edited, you know, as you see.
Right. Right.
It'll let you know if it'll hide it from the pre-planned PDF. You hit yes. If you for the inspection permission only, yes. If you want it to be active here. Well, this comes into play is now we got these categories. Well, now the categories we can go in and we can sit there and we can make things. So yeah, if you got storage tanks, we can sit there and tank description. It can be a text, and then you can sit there and put capacity, and it can be a text. If we want it to show up in this tactical summary right here, they have to be selected in the back office as tactical summary.
Okay.
All right. So anything you want a tactical summary in any of these, categories, it has to be selected. No matter how you build them out, like I said, if it's a text, it means you writing. If it's a numeric, you put a numerical value on it. If it is a list, it should give you a list here, and you just add those lists. Let's see, we'll find one that's already currently, let's see. List, so if you see right here, the main item list is going to be none present, partial, present, undetermined. And then your secondary list value is going to have its carbon dioxide, dry chemical, foam, halogen, stuff like that. And that's in the tactical summary. So and I'll show you where these are located at. Your assignments, you can do those from the back office. If we sit there and put if there's any kind of current stations, we just want to do here's all the pre-plans. And then we can sit there and say, hey, do we want it by apparatus? Do we want it by shift and apparatus? Well, all right. So yes, we do. We want to sit there and we want to select what kind of apparatus or put it in on. So if we want engine 110, so this already shows some that are assigned to 110. They have 15
Okay.
hydrants assigned to them. Well, now we want to narrow it down to A shift. A shift has none. So now we can come over here and we can select all the ones that we want to go to A shift. And that's how you would do that. If you say, oh, I want to change my mind, I want to move all of them back. If you hit the top one, that moves everything that you're seeing. So if you want to narrow it down by district, by road, you do that, and then it'll narrow these down by numbers. And then if you want to move all of them that are there, you just hit that button and it'll transfer all of them over here. And if you accidentally hit that, then you can just move them back. Like I said, a lot of this was stuff that was done in the old way of doing the system, and now everything is being moved to the front of the front side of the page. Really, a lot of this will kind of eventually probably go away, and your management with your user permissions will be here to kind of dictate what's done in the back office. If you
Okay.
want to open up a pre-plan, you can do that right here. Follow up pre-plan. You just find the pre-plan that you want. You can either do it by, road, you can narrow it down, or you can just pull up all of them and type in the survey number. You can create a new pre-plan back here in the back. You can also create a new property in the back. The easier way to do that is you can either, if you're under your property list, let me just duplicate this so I don't lose my train of thought here. If we want to sit there and create a new property, it can either be done in the back office, or it can be done adding new property here. Or you can also click on your map view and go down to when you hit add property, it'll show you the little crosshairs, and you can zoom in to where where you're at, where you want to be. And we say, hey, wherever it's at, we can sit there and just click and scroll, find a property that we want. See if I can find one real quick. If one of these doesn't have one, then we sit there to take that crosshair, set it on the building, and it'll ask us for a name of the property. If we have a survey number already, if we know that, we put it in, then we hit add, and it'll add the property, and then we can start filling it out. So there's 3 different ways you can add a property: map view, you can add them under properties itself. Same way with pre-plans. You can under pre-plans, you can sit there and you can have a list. You can add a pre-plan. Oh, I misspoke. You have to add, once you add the property, then it'll generate the pre-plan, and you can do that by, like I said, the map view, under properties, or in the back office. Any questions on that?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Okay. All right, so back to our property. We talked about our floors. If we want to sit there and add a floor, we can add in a picture for certain, hey, there's something special on this floor. We can add a picture. We can put what floor it is. First floor, if we want to sit there, and then we can just add another floor. We can sit there and add our second floor. Already listed, we can add our second floor. And then if we want to put a picture of something special that's on that floor, we can do that here at this location. All the markers that are going to be on the tied to the pre-plan, I was sitting there kind of messing around with these a while ago. They're going to add in all the markers here. You can edit the markers from here by either changing, the color of it. If it's on a certain floor, you can add your attachments here. And then if you want to add in a label, you can add in all that here. So once it's added on the map, you can kind of do a little bit more editing under where it says markers.
Okay.
Your property details, this is where it's going to, so if you need to put the generic number to straight to the office. If it has a lot of people, they'll duplicate the building name here. Sometimes they just leave it blank. If you want to change your rating, you can change your rating by clicking this here. This rating, once it's changed, will change the colors of these once it's saved. If it's part of a complex, then we would hit yes. When you hit yes, this means this is the parent, or this is part of this is the parent. Sorry, this means this is part of the complex, and then we're going to add in the parent. So whatever one we select, once we hit save, then if it's in a certain area, say you have a shopping center and you have multiple businesses, say like say you have a McDonald's, or you have a Denny's or a Hardee's or whatever, and you have those on that premise, then we can sit there and say, hey, this is the corner shopping center, and then the corner shopping center will be the big complex. And then we sit there, and each individual that we have here is going to sit there and it's going to show up under that building. So each one will have its own pre-plan, but you can
Right.
sit there and pull up the big complex and you'll sit there and it'll show them at the bottom. And I'll show you where that look. I'll pull up a complex in a minute. But that's how you add a complex. If it's part of a complex, yes or no. Any of these numbers, if it's 2 stories, you can update all this. If it's something that's under construction, you can put it's under construction here. If you have some inspection stuff done with it, you can do that. If it requires a pre-plan and inspection, you can do that from here as well. Any information you can put here is another way you can filter something out. When it comes to your contact information, a lot of times, especially if you have inspections, this first one right here will be tied to inspections. Your additional contacts are here, and you can sit there and put it. Now, say you have a strip mall, it's a common roof, just like a normal little truss roof. It's just a generic little strip mall, and you want to sit there. You can either, depends on your organization, you could do multiple pre-plans for that one building. Or if you just want to say, hey, this is the strip mall on Highway 68, and you want to sit there and put your contacts, one way you could do that is you can sit there and add a contact. They're going to be if you have a name of an occupant it's here, and then what we do at the organization that I work for, we would sit there and we would put suite A and then their number, and then we would add in another one, suite B, and so
Okay,
especially if it's a common roof and we're only going to do one pre-plan, or we can sit there and put suite A and we can sit there and list, the company. It's easier to me to do the suites because if the suite's always going to be the same, but the company that might occupy the suite might be different. So
right.
it's listing that out, or you could just do suite A slash, that's a Domino's. It's a Domino's. And then we sit there, and then we can sit there and list out the person's name and then their cell phone number. So
Okay,
that's just one way you can do that. If it works best for your organization. One thing about the property details, say this Quality Inn is shut down, or say this was even a Hardee's or a Burger King or whatever fast food place that, if it's shut down, you could come here and you could change it. You could hyphen and then put vacant. So that way, the pre-plan, some places run their pre-plans based on their address, and then they put what it is. I've seen it done different ways. But if they pull us up, hey, here's the pre-plan. We know it's a Holiday at the Quality Inn, but now we know it's vacant. So if somebody's you got a relocation due to a fire, and they're pulling in, oh, hey, I know, oh, that's the old Quality Inn building. I know, but I didn't recognize the address. But now I look at it, oh, I didn't realize they were vacant. I didn't realize the Hardy shut down or the Bojangles or something like that. That just lets you know that's another way of labeling a building as vacant without changing the name of to being Bojangles. Now it's vacant. Use the
right. Okay,
Bojangles as a landmark that the property used to be. And a lot of times in cities, people recognize those landmarks. So that's just one way you can kind of do that. All right. So for properties, your risk assessment. This is what's going to drive this risk rating. If you sit there and you go through and you fill this out, it's going to sit there and change the risk rating of it. Um, so if I change this occupied as load and I'll put that the risk is highly, they have rare occurrences. If I put the water demand is it's not sprinklered, there's insufficient water, and I put that it's irreplaceable. The more of these I click, it does a formula here. And when that formula gets to a certain number, then it changes the risk rating. So now once we close this out, this little greenhouse is sit there and it's going to change into a red. And that all drives on the information that you put into the system.
okay,
If you have a hazmat on site, you sit there and you can click here. If you know the UN number or if you just know the name, we're just for general purposes, we're just going to put gasoline. Put gasoline there. We could put the DOT classification here, flammable gas, and then we can put a note if we want to sit there and put a note on there. If we have permits assigned to the building, if you do inspections and pre-plans, you can assign a permit to the building. You can sit there and you can fill those out if you do that. With your property log, It's just like I talked to you earlier about, especially when we listed on a property. It'll sit there and show you every time something was in, then it'll sit there and show you every time something was changed. It'll show you the old value and it'll show you the new value. If you have any special kind of attachments you need to, this was like a sketch. You sit there and you put those in, they'll show up. If you go to print off, if you upload a picture, it'll upload a picture if you upload these in your attachments. If you go to print this report, if you go down here and you want to preview the report and you go to preview it, it's going to show you these pictures. But if you put a PDF file in here, it's not going to show you that because you're trying to view a PDF file inside of a PDF file, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So this is where all that information from your tactical summary comes from. Like I said, a lot of them will start off with 3 or 4 field. It'll come off like generic, like a 4 field thing listed. But this one's just where people went in and edited. We use this site for teaching. So if it was something in the back office that will sit there and it was clicked, let me clear these out real quick. All right, so it's in the back office, these categories. If it's clicked as a tactical summary as a check, remember this is what's going to show here. You see these trash cans. If you say a building doesn't have an alarm panel, it's an old building, you don't think they're ever going to do it. You can go through here and you could hit delete. These are the same. So I want to sit there and I want to delete this row. Well, if I delete this row and it's viewable in my tactical summary, it won't be there. Like some of these are left blank. It won't.
Yep, I know what you're saying.
I can stop people if I want to save that. All I have to do, it'll ask can't delete. If I check can't delete, it will not give them the little trash can up front to delete. That's what that means. That can't delete
Okay.
in the back. So the more of this stuff I fill out, then the more of this is going to show up right up front. And these are the ones, like I said, this has got a lot of different stuff in here, pre-plan, but a lot of places they'll have if it's got an alarm, if it's got an FDC, the size, you can sit there and pull that up. If it's got an alarm panel present, you'll see if it's a Knox box. You'll see people, and if it's a gate code here, you'll see these certain things. And some places only have 4 or 5, and some have a lot. It all depends on what you deem is more important for your organization to show here. And you just go through and you fill these out as you want to. If it's a remark you want to type it in, you just type it in. These are the ones that gives you a selection, and this kind of gives you the examples of how they're set up in the back office. Your activities, if there's especially if you do inspections, it shows you every activity and the inspection number. If it shows you a pre-plan, these are your pre-plan numbers, like your survey numbers that are going to pop up here. And you can click on these to view the pre-plan that was done years ago. If there was a call tied to it, here's now this call. Now you want to see what kind of call, especially say like you get a lot of medical calls for drug overdoses or stuff like that. Then you say, you could click on this and it'll take you directly to your incident number. If there's any bills for inspections, the bills will populate here. If you add in remarks, so going down, we've pretty much done all the property information. Now we're moving down to the remarks tab. You can hit this tab over here and it'll take you to a certain spot, or you can scroll down, either one. If you have a manager that's always recommends, hey, if you're going to do a walkthrough, please call 1 week ahead of time. Whatever you put in these remarks, it does not send in the report. These are just your like an internal remarks only.
Okay.
If you require a signature, this is where you would put your signature and you would get them to sign. Let's hit sign, and then this is where they would sign their name. For your pre-plans, it all depends on how your organization does pre-plans. This can it'll tell you the next pre-plan date. It'll tell you how often this is going to be and then it'll sit there and it'll tell you that if it's assigned to a certain staff, if we want to sign it, or if we have these in the set up to say we have multiple shifts and it's going to rotate, then it'll say, hey, we want this to rotate to station 10. We want this to rotate to engine 10, something like that. How you figure up your stuff in the back office, that's going to be under management. Let me close this out real quick. That'll be under management, department configurations. And this is where you can change how often you do your pre-plans. This one is set up to do pre-plans every 12 months. If your organization does them longer, then you could change that. One thing I recommend, it all depends on how, well, I say I recommend, it all depends on how your organization is set up. If your organization is set up to do them, say, like quarterly, if they're set up to do yearly, if, say, they're set up to do yearly and they're due in December every year or June of every year. If I have due date plus cycle, that means no matter when I do them through the year, it's always due at the end of the year or in June. If I have, it gives you two options, date completed. So if this is due and if we put that as due in December of this year and I hit put date completed in cycle, well, it's going to cycle out 12 months, but it's going to cycle out, say, if I done it today, October 28th, plus the cycle of 1 year. So next year, October 28th of 2026 is when it's due. So what a lot of organizations will do, they're going to default this to due date.
Okay.
Showing default hydrants only. Whoa, what happened? If you want to sit there and do a quality check, if you want something other than Google Maps, if you want Esri Maps or Google Maps, this is where that pulls from. Street View enabled by default. So that Street View I pulled up, I had to hit it. If I come over here, what about that? It kicked me out of the back office. Yep. Sorry about that. Somebody might have logged in and kicked me out. If we want to sit there and we want to change this to street views viewed every time. So when you go down on your map up here under your property and you go map view, this will default every time to showing the street view, or we can have it where you just have to expand it. So that's what that does back here in the back.
Okay.
Add map to the reports. If you want to email, when you email is the number one contact. This is where you can change all that yourself. Let's see. If we want our email reports, I don't know if are you familiar with like mailing list?
Yes.
Okay. So if I have a mailing list and I have pre-plans, it'll sit there and it'll send that. If I have pre-plans, if I have a pre-plan set as a default, every time a pre-plan is done, it's going to sit there and send it. If I just want the mailing list made but not set as default in the back, so I sit there and I have my mailing list doesn't give me. So if I anywhere, like I said, if you red and white, you double click it, you edit. So if I edit
Yep.
and I have one that says pre-plans, if pre-plans is defaulted, every time a pre-plan is done, it's going to email it by default. If I just
Okay.
sit there and I make up a pre-plan and then I hit exit, now when I come and I don't hit default, when I go here and hit pre-plan, I can add all the personnel that I want to, and then, or I can sit there and I can type in an address here. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so, if I want to type in their name and then I put their email address if they're not a person, on our personnel roster, and then I can sit there and I can select mailing list pre-plans. Once I refreshed it, since I'm in it, it won't show it. If I
Right.
refresh it, it'll come up. I can default to the staff list, or I can sit there and send to an outside company. Or outside person. I can hit report, preview, and once it downloads, computer started ringing. Once it downloads, I can sit there and I can pull that report up. And then I'm going to move it over. It'll pull it up and it'll sit there and it'll show me all my information that I have in the pre-plan. Any questions on pre-plans you think of, Scott?
No, not that I can think of.
All right. Well, hopefully this class helped you out today.
Definitely did. Showed me a couple of things that I didn't realize were there. So
All right. Well, anytime you ever need anything, just reach out to us. We always offer these classes. One thing I always try to tell people is, go over here. You can go to the training center. And of course, you found the class, but like I said, I always try to show everybody monthly calendar and go to the links, and it'll let you sit there and show featured events, and then it'll show you some future and upcoming investigations, inspections, work orders, and stuff like that.
great.
All right. Well, thank you
All
for
right.
joining today, and have a great day.
Thanks, you as well.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.